Hi guys, I'm Ange and I love crafting. If you've stumbled on my channel for the first time, welcome. I do clay and craft tutorials and post them every Saturday. For this week, I'm taking a short break from playing to make over some simple home decor. I found these jars that were used for a school project and they were about to be thrown out. I really wanted to save them and make them fit the vibe of my home, so I decided to paint them using different design inspirations. As these pots have all been previously painted on, the first thing that I needed to do was to cover everything with white acrylic paint. Once every jar had been painted white, I set these aside to dry completely. For the first project, I wanted to do a boho chic design. To achieve this look, I decided to cover the center with natural burlap. I measured about 2 inches from the center and measured the same width on the burlap. Then I cut off the excess. The next thing that I did was I mixed a dark shade of green with white to make mint green. Once the entire jar had been coated, I set it aside to dry completely. When it had dried, I got the E7000 glue and glued it to the center of the jar. Finally, I coated the entire jar, including the burlap fabric, with Mod Podge and let it dry completely. And there you have it, my Boho Chic inspired jar. I put some dried eucalyptus in this jar and it's become my favorite of all that I did. The second jar's inspiration are the concrete decor that I see so often on Pinterest. This was actually a difficult redesign because the jar was originally painted black, and I suspect that the paint that was used on it was poster paint because every time it stuck to something, the paint would chip or peel off. The plan was to paint everything gray and then dry brush it with black. I had to keep going back to it because of the chip paint. But eventually, it did get to a point where everything was covered. I quickly brushed it with Mod Podge, and that did the trick to seal everything. In here, I placed some dry lavender and I positioned it on my stair landing. The third jar's inspiration is another popular design theme, which is Farmhouse. For this craft, you will need a bit of polymer clay. I wanted the jar to have this milk jug vibe, so I fashioned handles for it using clay. Once I created the shapes of the handles, I baked the clay following the instruction on the packaging. Then, when the clay handles were baked, I attached it to the sides of the jar with E7000 glue. Finally, I painted everything white. Then I dry brushed the entire jar with gray. This jar I placed inside my bathroom, and I can't believe how nice it looked with the grains matching my tiles. And finally, I decided I wanted to do something pastel. Of the four, I have to admit that this is my least favorite, and only because the glue gun did not cooperate with me, and I couldn't make straight, neat lines. I decided that I wanted to have some texture in this jar, and I thought that making the lines with a glue gun would work. In fairness, I still think that it would have worked, but I think that it would have looked better if I let my lines run along the entire jar instead of just having it at the bottom. And these are my 4 jars. I really did feel that it was an improvement from the original, and these jars had been transformed. If you haven't yet, please do give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more craft and DIY tutorials. Thank you and see you next weekend. Bye!